Oh yes, here it is, Sports O'Clock. I hope I did it right, Ben. I had to try anyway, because today we're talking about nothing but sports games. More specifically, sports-themed spin-offs of larger franchises that take established characters you know and love, give them all golf clubs or cricket bats, and set them loose out on the field. There's big money to be made in the sports genre, as evidenced by the literal billions of dollars made by franchises like FIFA and Madden, and those games just have real people in them. Boring, so it should be easy pickings for someone like Mario or Mickey Mouse, right? Right? Well, yes, in some cases, but not every character or series takes to the concept like a dog to basketball. Many feel a bit more like a square peg in a round hole and leave scratching their heads in confusion, as we're about to see. I'm Peter from TripleJump, and here are 10 weird sports spin-off video games. Number 10. Mega Man Soccer. For all his unquestionable popularity and iconic status, Mega Man doesn't really have that many proper spin-offs under his belt, at least not when compared to characters like Mario or Sonic, who will both be on this list, don't you worry. He's at least hit all the major highlights though, kart races, fighting games, and Monopoly-style board games, but of course, there is also a sports title out there. As the name implies, Mega Man Soccer, it feels weird to say that word as a British person, is a game where you play football as characters from the Mega Man series. There are a number of classic bosses to have on your team alongside the Blue Bomber himself, each with their own unique abilities like blasting the opposing team out of the way or simply freezing the goalie solid. Referee! Interestingly, the game actually does have a story, or at least makes an attempt at one, wherein the fiendish Dr. Wily interrupts a match and replaces the players with his own robots. Fortunately, Mega Man leaps into action to save the day, through football, of course. Oddly, while the game has a beginning, its ending cutscene, while still present in the game's files, goes unused, and seems to depict Mega Man dying, which is something that presumably would bring an end to any kind of sporting event, or at least one would hope. Number 9. Sega Superstars Tennis. The mid-2000s were a bit of a tough time for good old Sonic the Hedgehog. While there were definitely diamonds in the rough, this period of the series is mostly remembered for his ill-advised spin-offs and failed reboots. So it was actually somewhat refreshing to see him doing something normal for a change, like, playing tennis. Taking a leaf out of Mario's playbook, get it? That was a sports reference. Playbook. Never mind. Sega Superstars Tennis sees a lineup of famous faces from Sega's history stepping onto the court for a bit of fun with the old ball and racket. Aside from Sonic, the roster includes luminaries from games like Super Monkey Ball, Golden Axe, and Alex Kidd. Not a terrible selection, all things considered, but still a bit lacking in, quote, superstar power. The game was a solid effort though, with decent mechanics and just enough wacky gimmicks to make things interesting. However, it was criticised for the baffling choice not to include online multiplayer in the Wii version, despite the fact that it released well after many other games had already made use of the feature. The crossover concept would continue in the form of kart races, though the Sega Superstars would slowly be phased out in favour of Sonic alone. Sonic the Hedgehog, more like Sonic the Spotlight Hog, because he's hogging the spotlight. Number 8. Academy of Champions Football. If a player needs to be issued a warning, they're shown the yellow card. If they're being thrown out of the game, they're shown the red card. But what if there's something in the game that's being really weird or unexpected? Well, you might say that they're shown the wild card! Academy of Champions Football, that feels much better to say, is not technically a spin-off of any established series, hence its wildcard status, but rather an attempt to create an all-new franchise of sports-themed games. Players take on the role of students at a magical school, except instead of witchcraft and wizardry, they learn passing and shooting in between their socializing with schoolmates, all presented with a cartoony visual style and simplified gameplay to make it an approachable title for the youngsters. So why does it make this list then? Well, along your educational journey at the Academy, you'll cross paths with some proper legends, including the real-life player Pele as the headmaster, and compete in matches against and alongside famous Ubisoft characters like Rayman, Altair, and Sam Fisher. Now, there's nothing wrong with a little crossover appeal, but why they thought characters from games primarily rated for teens and adults would help market a game meant for children is the biggest mystery of all. Number 7. Mario Sports Superstars. By this point, Mario has played, refereed, or blatantly cheated at just about every sport under the sun. Heck, he's even been in the bloody Olympics. But what if there was a way for him to do all of the sports? Well, it turns out he's already done that too, actually. But what if he did it again? Mario Sports Superstars, because apparently they'll let anyone be a superstar these days, is a compilation of 5 separate sports in one Nintendo 3DS game. Most of them are sports that the plumber and pals have dabbled in before, namely baseball, football, tennis, and golf. But the 5th event, for whatever reason, was horse riding, an all-new pastime that led to some rather questionable imagery. Horses or not, or should I say horses or nay, this should have been a slam dunk formula for a game. But Nintendo just had to go and make things complicated. A core component of Sports Superstars gameplay was the use of amiibo cards. Scan a card and you can unlock a character or piece of equipment, and with 90 cards to collect, each with its own unlockables, it quickly became quite a hefty investment, and not one likely to appreciate in value the way the Yu-Gi-Oh cards in my attic definitely will. The market's gonna turn around any day now, I swear. Number 6. Disney's Extreme Skate Adventure. If you had to list the things kids loved the most in the early 2000s, it's a safe bet that cartoons and extreme sports would both make the top 5. But does that mean they should have been combined together? Some people thought so. Disney, the undisputed champion when it comes to beloved animation, saw the lucrative potential in crossing these streams, and thus the world was given Disney's Extreme Skate Adventure, which features characters from films like Tarzan, Toy Story, and The Lion King, plus 2 real-life child skaters who won a competition, all ripping up a series of themed levels with their ollies, nollies, squallies, and gizzollies. I may have made a couple of those up. While it would have been easy for Extreme Skate Adventure to just be a bland rip-off of more popular skating games though, it had the advantage of being published by Activision, who also happened to publish those same popular skating games. That allowed the developers to build the game using the same engine as the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series, meaning it actually played quite well in spite of being a licensed tie-in. That alone helped Disney to stand out from the skateboard game crowd, a space that was rapidly filling up with the likes of Spyro the Dragon, Solid Snake, and a certain animated family we'll be talking about shortly. And by shortly, I mean right now. Number 5, The Simpsons Skateboarding. In case The Lion King and Toy Story weren't extreme enough for you, you're in luck, or perhaps fresh out of luck depending on who you consider to be extreme, because Springfield's most famous residents also got in on the shredding action with The Simpsons Skateboarding. Now, why does that title sound familiar? It'll come to me, I'm sure. Anyway, on paper, the game couldn't be more straightforward. The town of Springfield is hosting a skateboard competition, and all of its citizens are aiming to take the top prize. Straightforward isn't the same as sensible, however, and this whole premise falls apart about as easily as something assembled by Homer. The levels are bland, the controls are painful, and 99% of these characters have no business being in a skateboarding game. There's just no real reason for a title like this to exist, until you remember what kind of games were very much the style at the time. Oh yes, the reason is money. Brilliant. This is a painfully transparent cash grab made in response to the popularity of the Tony Hawk's games, but unlike Disney's Extreme Skate Adventure, the developers of Simpsons Skateboarding didn't bother with things like good gameplay or interesting design. Oh, now I remember why this game sounds familiar. It's because we previously ranked it as the second worst Simpsons game of all time right here on TripleJump. And I really hoped then that I would never see this again. I suppose there are just some burdens we'll never be free of. Number 4. Nicktoons MLB. You heard it here first, everyone. My Little Pony is coming to Nicktoons. Oh, sorry, it's MLB. You heard it here first, everyone. My Little Brony is coming to Nicktoons. It stands for Major League Baseball. I'm sorry, let's move on. Boasting the distinction of being the only game on this list to feature the license of a real-life sports league, Nicktoons MLB sees an all-star team of characters from Nickelodeon cartoons stepping onto the diamond to face off against the pros from the major leagues of baseball. As with any crossover game, the real draw is the roster, and Nicktoons MLB aims to please fans from both camps, with a lineup of around 24 characters from classic Nicktoons, ranging from Jimmy Neutron to Avatar: The Last Airbender, plus all active players from the MLB's 30 official teams. It's a bit lopsided, to be sure. Odd as this may sound though, and as bizarre as it looks in motion, the game does have a solid pedigree behind it, as it draws many ideas from The Bigs, an arcade-style baseball game with over-the-top action and crazy antics that seemed a perfect fit for the wacky worlds of Nickelodeon. Critics were less kind to Nicktoons MLB, however, with its middling review scores making it look to be a bit of a swing and a miss. Number 3. Kirby's Dream Course. Given Kirby's legendary appetite, you'd be forgiven for thinking that this dream course would simply be his ideal supper, but it's actually a startlingly good spin-off where the petite pink hero puts his spherical body to use as a golf ball. Kirby's Dream Course is a far cry from any traditional golfing game, of course, as rather than simply reaching the hole in as few strokes as possible, the objective is to defeat enemies and collect stars in either single or multiplayer. There's also the fact that you can use special copy abilities like creating ice or turning into a rock to your own advantage, or to your opponent's disadvantage, which is something I've been saying pro golfers should be doing for years now. Get off your lazy bums, PGA. Perhaps the most unusual thing about Kirby's Dream Course, though, is how surprisingly deep and polished it is, offering players a great deal of control as they send their favourite little puffball careening around the course. There's a complex element of strategy involved, with maximising your score while minimising your opponent's options, that hides beneath this game's cutesy exterior. Kirby's Dream Course may not actually be about food, but it's still very much worth a second helping. Number 2. New International Track and Field. Olympic records are eternally impressive, a testament to humanity's ability to push their bodies beyond physical limits in pursuit of greatness. In a very similar and equally impressive vein, the Track and Field series from Konami set its own records for its financial success and popularity of its competitions, and served as the spark that inspired many other sports games to follow. While many titles in the series are simply button-mashing minigame collections, its foray onto the DS is one of particular note. New International Track and Field offers 24 different athletic events for players to participate in, including sprinting, archery, pole vaulting, and weightlifting. What makes the game international is up for debate, but what makes the game new is its unique offering of playable characters. The bulk of the roster is made up of original characters, but joining them are a selection of folks from other Konami properties, including Castlevania's Simon Belmont, Rocket Knight's Sparkster, and Silent Hill's Pyramid Head. Obviously, no one's going to question the cardio of a professional vampire hunter, but I'm not sure Pyramid Head has even been out in the sun, much less competed in sports. Although, judging from the way he's always able to chase us down with a rusty blade, I have to imagine his stamina is actually in quite good shape. And number 1, Klonoa Beach Volleyball. poor Klonoa has had a rough go of it throughout his career. He's been in quite a few games, and they've all generally been quite good, but whether due to poor advertising, competition from bigger names, or just plain bad luck, he never quite reached the upper echelons of other platforming heroes. Nevertheless, the lovable cat-rabbit dog hybrid has shown up as a guest in many other games outside his own, flexing his muscles in sports as diverse as football, snowboarding, and even motorcycle racing. So, it almost makes sense that Klonoa would get his own sports spin-off, except it doesn't really, does it? Gameplay-wise, Klonoa Beach Volleyball is entirely serviceable, featuring a cast of adorable characters with their own powers and abilities, and many fanciful settings in which to play. There's nothing bad or offensive here, it's just bizarre that this game exists at all. I mean, it was odd enough when some of the bigger mascot names in this list got their own sports spin-off. It's stranger still when a character like Klonoa, whose games had underperformed, gets a new spin-off of any kind. But the weirdest thing of all was that this was a sports game released for the PlayStation in 2002, a full 2 years after the launch of the PS2. By this point, most video game mascots had already jumped ship to the more powerful generation, including Klonoa himself. Whose idea was this? Oh well, hopefully someday the poor kid will finally catch a break.